Hey everyone, and welcome to Cocktails and Classics, where each episode we force our friend Cameron, who hasn't seen many classic films, to watch one. Before, those who have seen it will write down a rating based off their memory and nostalgia. During the movie, we'll be drinking cocktails inspired by it, and we'll give you the recipes so you can try it at home. And afterwards, we'll dissect the movie, give our updated ratings, along with Cam's first impressions. So I'm Dylan, and joining me today are Cameron,
Hey.
Ben,
Hello.
Carlos,
How's it going?
and Zach.
Hey, guys.
This week we are watching 12 Angry Men, the 1957 film starring Henry Fonda, Lee J. Cobb, Ed Begley, and directed by Sidney Lumet. Cameron, what do you know about the film going in?
So this is the first for me. I almost know nothing about this movie, like actually zero. The only thing I know is I think it all takes place in the same room, but other than that, I don't know anything going in.
Yeah, this is going to be the oldest film that we have done.
By quite a bit.
Yeah. So this is our first legit classic, I feel like. The other ones are classics, obviously, but this is like black and
Old
white.
school.
We're lucky they have sound, you know?
Lucky they had Henry Fonda.
Yeah, is that Jane Fonda's husband?
That is her father.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Jesus, this movie's old. Holy shit.
1957.
I don't know if Jane Fonda, I don't know how old she is, but if it was her husband in 1957, they were married as
I forgot about
toddlers.
the year difference there.
So you said you don't know much about the film going in. What do you expect? You said you knew there was one room. Do you know anything else?
Well, I know it's about jurors, and I assume there's a divide amongst the jurors on how to vote for the verdict. So that's my assumption. And I assume we're going to see some angry dudes,
12 of them.
approximately.
So Cam doesn't know much. He's kind of
Anything.
fresh, and this is. I think that'll be great for like your first impression is literally your first impressions. Like you don't know anything, you haven't seen a trailer. It'll be great. So to kick this thing off and get everybody in the right mood, I'm going to pass it over to Ben, our makeshift bartender for this week, and he's going to give us this week's inspired cocktail.
Hey guys, so this week's inspired cocktail is a Tom Collins. We opted to go with a classic cocktail for an old school movie. What you're going to need is 2 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of lemon juice, a half ounce of simple syrup. You're going to go ahead and pour those into a cocktail glass, throw in some ice, top with club soda, stir it up, throw in a lemon wedge or maybe a cherry to garnish it. Don't forget to check out the recipe in the show notes below if you can't remember.
Yeah, this is a classic cocktail. This is my first time actually trying it, and I think this is going to be my go-to bar drink now. It's smoothed down. It's a nice summer cocktail. I love it.
So I actually thought I hated gin. Like, I always thought it just tasted like pine needles and that any drink I had with it in was not good. But this drink actually changed my mind on that. It actually is quite refreshing, as other people have said, and actually sweet, which I haven't had a gin drink like this before, so very good.
Be the perfect cocktail to sit in my apartment until next year under quarantine. It's a real summer drink.
Sit in your apartment with the window open.
Crack
get
the
nice
windows.
summer breeze.
If you haven't seen the movie 12 Angry Men, sit back, sip on this week's cocktail, the Tom Collins, and enjoy the show. Just a note, there will be spoilers from here on out. If you have seen the movie, go ahead and continue on for our post-movie discussion.
Hope you grabbed your drink, whether that's cocktail, coffee, or just some water. Stay hydrated out there. This week, we watched 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men came out in 1957. It was directed by Sidney Lumet, starring Henry Fonda, Lee J. Cobb, Martin Balsam. It is just a great film. It's on the IMDb Top 250. It is number 5 on there currently with a 8.9 out of 10. It is a highly regarded film as one of the best of all time. To briefly recap the plot, 12 Angry Men is a movie about a jury of 12 men. They are angry. They are housed in the room. They're up for deliberation, and one lone juror holds out against the others. and pleads the case for a 18-year-old boy who is on trial for murdering his father. So Cameron, what's your initial reaction of the film?
I actually really loved this movie. It was really good. Up to now, I thought the previous movie we did, The Shining, was my favorite, but this actually might be my favorite, the ones that we've seen, which is surprising because it is the oldest. My initial reaction is, I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but many of the themes of this movie, some of the things that people say, are just so relevant to today. It's actually astonishing to me. I was really shocked how much this applied to what could be said of today. Like the themes you can take from this movie, you could just literally make a movie today and it would be just as applicable.
Were there things that did or did not surprise you, Cameron?
I think I touched on this before, but the main things that surprised me is how relevant this movie would still be today. Like someone was saying before we started recording, and I agree that like I think most people should actually see this movie. Most Americans should see this movie. It covers things that are, in our society that are still relevant today. It covers civic duty. It covers many things that I think people would benefit from, which was really surprising to me as a movie that is now, 63 years old.
People are finding it relevant all across the world. This movie's been remade in so many different languages and so many different settings. There's a Japanese version, there's a Russian version, a German version. People are really resonating with this all across the world.
Yeah, I will say too, I think the big thing with this movie is the fact that you have to seek it out to want to see it. Because a lot of the times, if it's a movie that's forced on you, you're not really going to get the grasp of it. But if it's a movie you seek out, it is super relevant to a lot. I mean, I think that's part of what constitute this movie being a classic, is that it really is timeless, and in any age from 1957 to now, you can watch this movie and draw upon it ideas and concepts that really resonate with what the day-to-day life is.
Just to give you guys a little throwback to history of what was going on in 1957 when this came out, Jailhouse Rock by Elvis Presley was released. And dating back so far that our Detroit Lions actually won the NFL championship that year. That's how old this movie is.
Why did you have to bring up our Detroit Lions?
Hey, a good Detroit Lions
Pain
fact.
in my voice.
Those don't happen that
I
often.
thought we were gonna have a good time here, and then you had to bring them up, and now
That
I'm
was the
sad.
last one, actually. You got to soak it in. Revel
Okay,
in the
but
times.
why did you say that? That makes it worse. It wasn't even called the Super Bowl. It's just a championship.
Are there any questions that remain about the film, Cameron?
No.
All right, sounds good.
Got it all
I
wrapped
didn't really
it up.
know. Like I thought it was a self-explanatory plot. I mean, the main thing which I think is actually brilliant that they do is they don't actually tell you whether or not he did it. So they don't actually ever tell you whether or not he for sure killed his father or not at the end of the movie, which I think is great because it's up to your interpretation whether or not he did or didn't do it. But that's the only open question that I would have, but I think it's good that they left that as a question rather than a statement.
I was going to say, I think anyone who ever is going to serve on a jury, or anyone who's, registered to sign up for a jury, needs to see this movie to realize what the phrase beyond a reasonable doubt is. I think they do such a good job of, is it possible that he did it? Yes. Is it proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he did it? No. And I think that's such a good spot of this movie, is showing that, that one juror kind of showing that, no, they're really, this person did this. Yes. This lady saw this, but she wasn't wearing glasses. Do I know she wasn't wearing her glasses? No. Is there reasonable doubt that she wasn't? Yes. And that falls on, I think he says it the best, where the burden of proof lies in the prosecution, not the defendant. I think this movie does a good job of explaining the innocent until proven guilty. And I think that's just part of what makes this movie such a film that everyone should see regardless of the time period.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it should go farther than people who are serving on jurors, like you said at the end there. I think it shows, like you said, the innocent until proven guilty that's enshrined in the Constitution, and enshrined in our law system. Beyond that, too, I think it shows just how much that can be twisted by your circumstances. So in the film, this kid is poor. He comes from a poor background. He doesn't have a great home life coming up. And because of that, he gets assigned a defender, a public defender, which in our Constitution and in our laws, again, your right is to a public defender or a defense. However, it does not say that your defender has to be good. So it's really showing, and again, this is why I'm so astonished that it was in 1957, is that if you don't have money, going to trial is not always, like, it's not, even if you didn't do it, it's not going to be good for you. It may not be good for you because you can get a public defender who either doesn't care or doesn't believe in your case or is overwhelmed or a multitude of other reasons as to why they didn't do their job effectively. And so really, it shows the fault of our system in that if you are wealthier, you probably get a lawyer that does care because you're paying them. And if you don't, then it's kind of a crapshoot. And you can end up like this. And that's part of the reason why the original juror didn't want to go to a hung jury, because he knew that if they were a hung jury and they were retried again, as other people have said, he'd probably be tried by a different jury who would just vote him guilty.
Like what Cameron was saying about, okay, he, depending on like the kid's upbringing and his background, like, yeah, he gets assigned a lawyer, but I feel, I guess, like, in addition to that, he also gets assigned like the stereotypes that come along like with that, which also, which clearly shifts the perspectives of some of the jurors to begin with.
Was there a most memorable or like best scene for you guys?
I mean, I love the end when Lee J. Cobb, the juror number 3, who kind of plays the antagonist throughout the whole movie, finally breaks down. The picture falls and you can see it's like him and his son, and he just breaks down and starts crying, and then the only thing he says is not guilty. Then the movie kind of ends. That scene with him going from the entire movie of being sort of the baddie, not falling for anything Henry Fonda was saying, for him to come through and finally say, okay, you know what? Yeah, enough is enough. Reasonable doubt. He's not guilty. And letting him walk.
I was gonna say it kind of adds a human element to that character as well, because he breaks down and cries, and we see this family picture, and he's not the jury, judge, and executioner that he was the entire film. That he wanted him to burn. He wanted to kill him. The kid on the chair was the worst thing in the world, and then at the very end it's like, oh, this guy has a heart, he has feelings.
I think my favorite or most memorable scene is the first time he gets someone to flip when they're talking about the train and how fast it's moving and the 10 seconds, and that there's no way the old man could have heard him yelling. Like, I think that was the first time that it is kind of one of those, gotcha. That's bullshit. That's reasonable doubt. Let's go. And then they take another vote and they get one more vote. And it's just kind of that first kind of slow wheel turn that makes you think like, oh shit, maybe he's onto something.
Yeah, in a similar...
It's the start of the avalanche.
Yeah, the dominoes falling.
In a similar vein, I think one of my favorite scenes from that, basically he pulls out, like, they're like, oh, this knife, look at it. It's so unique. There's no knife that exists like this. And he just pulls out one that looks almost identical to it. And all the jury, like, kind of just, like, erupts and is like, what is this? How did you find this? He's like, yeah, I just went into the neighborhood and found a shop nearby and bought a knife, and it looked exactly identical. And yeah, just like him slamming it on the table and to everybody's bewilderment was an awesome scene. Another, like you said, like a gotcha type of scene.
Not only is buying a switchblade illegal, I feel like it's illegal to like go to the neighborhood where the kid is from.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. I thought about that, of the like jury either interference or tampering, or so I don't know. That's an interesting question. Is it illegal? Because I know it's illegal for like the defense or the prosecution to like unduly influence the jury. But is it illegal for the juror to go to the place where it was committed and like
Yeah, I'm pretty
walk
sure
around and
because
buy
you're not
stuff?
supposed to have any sort
Is it?
of
Okay.
bias going into it.
Was there a most quotable line or a memorable quote from the film?
I like the guy threatening to beat the shit out of that like the guy at the juror number 3. The guy that just like threatened to basically kick his ass.
But
if he
not
kept
just
talking
him.
to
He
the,
threatened
elderly guy
every
like
other character. Like, no matter what would happen, he was like, hey, you don't talk like that, or I'll kick your ass.
that. Big Whoop, want to fight about it?
Well, he didn't have many lines.
Right, that's true.
Like beyond the one interaction in the bathroom where he's like, I'm just a working man.
Yeah.
I'm not paid to think. That's my boss. And then he comes out there and he's like, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to kick your ass. Also, I'm going to kick your ass. He just becomes the muscle.
Yeah, I don't remember which juror it was, but it's the juror when he finally gets the fan working. You know, they flip the light switch on, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, the fan must have been on the same circuit as the light." And he turns it on. He's all excited, and there's no reaction from the jurors, and the entire shot is on him. And he sits down and he starts like throwing paper balls backwards into the fan, and then one of them hits the old guy, and he goes, "Well, that was stupid." That always just cracked me up. Like the movie is so tense. And it's like, hey, something's finally going right. And that was dumb.
One that Cam called out during the film was when the old man is talking, he like gets on number 7, I believe it is. And Henry Fonda's character says, he can't hear you. He
Oh my
never
God,
will.
I love that line.
Cam called that.
I fucking love that line. That is great. Like, I need to say that today. Like, he can't hear you and he never will. Like, that is awesome. I love it.
That actually takes me to what might overpass for my most memorable scene is the scene where juror number
13.
Shit. Juror number
I don't know all the jurors, but I know that one doesn't exist.
Is it the
13
advertising
Angry
guy?
Men.
It's
Dun,
Ed Begley's character. When he gets up and he starts spouting off about, well, you know how these types are. You know that, these people do these kind of things. And slowly everyone around the table just gets up and starts walking away and facing away from him.
Yep.
Just a total, like, shut the fuck up
And then he sat at the
mood.
kids' table like a bitch.
Just imagine how awkward that room was. Like, not only is he spouting some racist bullshit, but then everyone else in the room is just like standing up and turning away and not even saying anything.
You're like one of the last 2 guys at the table. You're like, fuck, do I stand up?
It's funny too, because even he turns to like one of the only people that's still sitting at the table, and he's like, "You're listening to me, right?" And the guy said, "Yeah," and you need to shut up, basically. It's like, yeah, and you need to stop talking for the rest of the duration of this thing.
Was there a holy shit moment for you guys?
I think there were multiple. I mean, every time somebody was like, "Oh, there's no way you could hear the man screaming," or he was in the kitchen, or there's so many of them. I don't know if I could pick a favorite, but every time it happened, it was so fun to watch.
I don't have anything to add to that. Zach nailed it.
Oh, guys. Shucks.
There were so many parts during the movie where it just felt so satisfying for them to be like, okay, like the train scene where he's basically saying that the guy couldn't have heard the yelling if there was this L train passing by his apartment at the exact same time. Like, that payoff of just like it was just so satisfying to be like, yes, that makes sense. Like, that is something, again, the public defender should have at least looked into, or, those things along those lines. Or the knife where he's like, it's a unique knife. No one else could have possibly had that knife. And then the guy Henry Fonda's character pulls out the knife, sticks it on the table, and it looks like, very, very similar to the one that they found on the crime scene.
To the point that the knife looked so similar that later on the jurors literally look at it and go, "Oh, hand me the knife." That's not the knife from evidence. That's the knife the other guy bought.
Yeah, there were many moments where I was like, "Oh, he got him," which was very satisfying. I also like in general crime shows and movies and stuff. So there were many of the like gotchas were very satisfying to me because I really like that kind of stuff.
There's a neat fan theory about this movie that Henry Fonda is actually the bad guy, because he visited like the crime scene and bought a knife that was very similar to the knife used in the crime, and got into the juror room and then ultimately convinced every single juror that the kid was not guilty, letting the kid walk free. It's a fun fan theory to think about.
That's such a weird fan theory. I feel like like why would you as the murderer get into the jury to convince a jury that the person that's not you on trial really did not commit the
Maybe
murder?
he feels guilty.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like you would want him to go to prison, so then you're completely off the case.
Yeah, he would have been juror number, I think, 3, the guy that was really adamant until the very end. Like, I feel like that guy would have killed him. He did tell Henry Fonda's character that he was going to kill him
It's true, yeah.
Which
in the movie.
Which he did also say is pretty much motive that he's going to murder him.
Yeah, that's what, according to his logic.
13 Angry Men, the sequel, where juror number 3 kills juror number 8.
11 angry men.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
I was going to go in a different direction in terms of holy shit moment. And I think Zach's right with the moments that they get like the gotcha, but the best holy shit moment is when the old man does it. He's like, I noticed you rubbing your nose. Is that because of your glasses? And you're like, oh shit. It's not juror number 8. It's juror number 9. The old man that's going to prove your ass wrong.
Honestly, he might have been my favorite character.
Oh, he was. I wrote that down.
Yeah.
I said, Cam loves the old man.
Classic show note. Cam loves the old man.
No, really.
Not the first time you've written that
loved
down.
his character. I loved his character so much because he's a guy. He's an older guy. He's kind of unassuming when he comes in.
Just
but
your type.
What? Yeah, just my type. No, he shows so much wisdom. He shows so much wisdom and just forethought in this whole process and just like essentially wanting it to play out that is refreshing to see. And so, yeah, like he might have been my favorite character in the entire movie, honestly.
He's the one you're expecting to be most prejudiced or to be blinded by his past experiences. And instead, he kind of shows that wisdom that you look to from the previous generation.
I'll add one more thing. I'm pretty sure that's the only juror who we learn his name, and it's at the very end as they're walking out. But I love that of this movie is you don't know any of the jurors' name throughout the entire plot. They're just juror number 1 through 12.
Except for 8 and 9.
Or 13 if you're drunk.
Yeah, juror number
Dude
13.
was sick.
The mysterious.
Juror number 13.
Juror number 13 is the audience.
Oh, speaking of the audience for this podcast, we need somebody who's familiar with those old style paper towel machines that they had in the bathroom. We were all confused as to how those work, so somebody could write into the
Yeah,
podcast
what the hell was that?
at Cocktails and Classics Pod, or by a physical letter. You can mail it to Dylan's house. I'll give the address. We need to know how those work.
My thought
Yeah, we'll just dox Dylan real quick.
is that it's just a rag, and you like
Yeah, but
pull
how does
the
it go
rag
back
down,
up?
and it just goes back up in the.
Well, the going back up
A
part
pulley?
isn't the right.
Think
It's
they're
not
on, like, the
pulley.
same gear
that part isn't
system?
the part that confuses me. The thing that confuses me is that like they just wash their hands on this thing and then pull
yeah.
it. But then the germs and like all the other like moisture and everything just goes back up into the
It's
machine.
got to be moldy
What
as
happened?
shit.
Cam, this was 57. They didn't care about germs in 57.
Germs weren't invented until like the 70s.
A little bit of a tradition around here is Zach will take over and give us a little quiz. So, Zach, take it away.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. You guys know the format. 3 quick questions. We tally up the scores. Whoever's got the most points at the end wins. So, first question. How many days did it take to film 12 Angry Men? Was it A, 19 days, B, 29 days, or C, 39 days?
I'm going to go 19 days. I feel like that's kind of short, but it's also one location. I don't.
Hey, you're not
I
giving
don't
them
know.
enough
I feel.
credit. They had like 3 locations. You know, they had the courtroom, and then they had the deliberation room, and then they obviously had the bathroom
And the outside.
and the steps.
They did have one exterior.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to go 19 days because I don't think it's that hard. There's a lot of shots, there's a lot of dialogue to get right, but they came in with a shot list, I feel like, and they know we're going from an A to a B, and then we're going to get coverage. Boom.
I'm going to go with the movie making expert here and also say 19 days. I feel like it takes a lot of time to set up a set and do all the ancillary activities to these types of things. And so I'm going to go with A, 19 days.
I could also be wrong because movies back in the day went a little bit longer.
Yeah, but they didn't have to go anywhere.
After Whiplash, now everything wants to shoot in like 12 days.
How long did Whiplash take to shoot?
14 days.
Oh my God, really?
That's the game show where they run across the water obstacle course, right?
Yeah.
Yes, not the Damien Chazelle movie about drumming.
Zach's always good at tricking me with these. I don't think it's 39 days. I'm going to say 29. I'm going to say B.
All right, I'm gonna go C, just because. Yeah, kind of like what Dylan was saying. Movies back then did take a little bit longer, so maybe they obviously had to work in the shots possibly afterwards. And I'll say 39.
All right, thank you, sir. It was a blazing fast filming. It was 19 days. Start to finish, all of the camera work took place in 19 days. So,
Ben, I told you to trust me, the champion of
Dylan,
trivia. Come
the
on.
film expert, got it correct. Cameron, the bandwagoner, also got it correct. They are tied at 1 point apiece. All right, speaking of the one room that the movie takes place almost entirely in, how much of the movie does not take place in said room? Is it A, 1 minute, B, 3 minutes, or C, 5 minutes?
I'm going to say C, 5 minutes. There's the scene in the bathroom, there's the scene in the courtroom, and then there's the scene outside. I believe that will tally up to 5 minutes. I really hope so.
I agree. I feel like the courtroom plus the bathroom plus the outside on both ends. The outside was shown in the beginning, I think, too, a little bit. I'm going to also say 5 minutes.
I am going to say 3 minutes.
Mistake.
One, I need to catch up here. 2, I think that they're going to consider the bathroom also part of that room. 3 minutes.
Wait, what is considered part of the
He's
room?
thinking the bathroom is going to be considered part of the main room, and I do not think so.
Clarification, is the bathroom part of that room?
I'm talking about just the 16-foot by 20-foot juror room with the table and the 12
right.
chairs.
The bathroom is not part of that room. Does that change your answer?
No, I still don't think the scenes in that room were that long.
I'm gonna say 3. I feel like the other scenes just honestly don't tally up. It may seem like it, but I think if you're really timing it out, I see you giving me a thumbs down, man. But I gotta roll at 3 minutes here.
All right, guys. Interesting. We have a 4-way tie. The answer was 3 minutes. So everybody is tied at 1 point. Next up, out of the 12 actors who played jurors in the film, how many were war veterans? A, 5, B, 7, or C, 9?
Dylan, movie knowledge. What's your answer?
Cameron, his whole strategy is Dylan's the expert. He knows everything about film. Let Dylan go first, and I'll say what he
I don't
says.
think his movie knowledge is going to help him here.
I have no idea. Like,
What were the answers again?
A, 5, B, 7, or C, 9?
can I go towards the end? Does anyone else have a guess right now?
Yeah, I'll go. So this was filmed in the 50s, which is what? Like
57, so it's 12
yeah.
years after.
So it's a fair amount of time, but enough where the actor's age makes sense for like World War II. So I'm actually going to go on the high end and say 9 of them were veterans.
Well, Cameron is a movie expert, so I'm going to also...
If you believe the results of the previous trivia quizzes, then yeah, maybe.
I have no idea. What were it was 5, 7, and 9?
Yeah, out of the 12 actors who played jurors in the film, how many were war veterans?
Jesus. I'm going to go with 5. Maybe some of them avoided going to the war. I don't know. Yeah, 5.
Some of them had bone spurs.
Those Hollywood
I got to
type-
just go separate from some people. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say 7. Ben, you can follow my
Ooh,
lead.
Carlos thinks he
I'll say
knows.
7.
I'm actually thinking it's going to be on the high side at 9. You've got to think a lot of those guys were in the right age to be at World War II. The elderly gentleman who played juror number 9 would have been old enough to be in World War I, and figure if there was anyone young enough, they probably could have been in Korea.
Oh, guys, why do you do this to me? We have a two-way tie at the end. The answer was 9. 9 of the 12 actors, astoundingly,
Yes.
75% of the jurors were war veterans. It was a popular
Oh.
profession back in the day for some reason, I guess.
That's a lot, but I'm not surprised.
Screw trivia.
All right, so we have a two-way tie between Cameron and Ben. So I have
Damn
a
it, Ben.
tiebreaker question. It seems like we're in a tiebreaker every week. So just
Yeah.
between
Oh, we only have 3 questions. It makes
just
sense.
between Cameron and Ben, the tie-breaking question. Which baseball game did juror number 7 have Yankees tickets for? Was it the...
Damn it.
No multiple choice.
He
I
was
know it.
about to give
It's
multiple
written
choice.
multiple choice.
Nope, no multiple
It's
choice.
multiple choice quiz, Ben.
No multiple choice. Answer it, Cameron.
No, what? No, this is changing the format on the
Ben
fly to
No,
benefit
hang on.
Ben.
No, because
If
I
we're
know
changing
it.
the format,
Because-
Ben thinks he knows. Cameron, what if you let Ben answer, and if he's wrong, you win?
Honestly, when he started talking about sports baseball teams, I really zoned out, and I had no, I don't remember at all. So,
Cam was like, sports ball. What's that?
right,
So
like especially baseball, like yeah, I don't know.
it is multiple choice. We either let Ben answer, and if he's right, he wins. If he's wrong, he loses. Or I can go down the multiple
You know
choice.
what? Let's make it interesting. I don't care. You know what? If Ben wins, that's fine with me. Go ahead. If you answer the question correctly, you can have it. Sure.
Yankees, Indians.
That is correct. The Cleveland Indians.
All right. Good job.
Congrats,
Good
Ben.
job. Yeah, I would.
Were they the Indians at that
They
point?
were
in time,
the
though?
Indians, yeah. I had to
They
fact
were.
check
Okay.
that. All right, so Ben with 3 points. That is our winner off the tiebreaker. Congrats. The first non-Cameron winner on the podcast about Cameron not knowing classic movies. I'm excited.
Congrats. Wow.
Woo!
I scoured the wonderful world of the Internet Movie Database for some negative reviews of 12 Angry Men. They did not like this movie at all. Review number 1 from Matthew Deemer on,
Deemer?
yes, Deemer, from
Okay.
June 9th, 2010.
Solid.
He gave it a 1 out of 10, titled Terrible. Myself and some friends watched this movie after seeing all the reviews on IMDb. The film was so bad that I had to join IMDb to tell everyone what I think. Okay, there was some good dialogue in the movie, but it was slow, dull, highly predictable, repetitive, cheap, and quite frustrating. It had been the cheapest movie ever made, just 12 guys in one room for the entire 90 minutes, often going 2 minutes or so without any words being spoken. I think that's bullshit.
I think
girlfriend
that's wrong. Yeah, that's just like wrong.
My girlfriend even predicted half of the things that were about to be said. How poor must a film be if you can do that? Sorry, but I just can't understand how this film is number 7 on IMDb, now number 5. Who on earth gave it 10 out of 10? Me and my friends can't even find enough in this movie to give it a 2. So it gets a 1 from us, and would be 0 if IMDb allowed that. Anyone thinking of watching it, don't. Go watch paint dry.
Wow. Ended with the paint dry.
This guy's got to be a big
I was
Michael Bay
literally
fan.
about to say that this guy has to have so much going on in his movies that there has to be explosions everywhere and plot twists at every turn and like 50 billion actors and like multiple visual effects. Like this guy just wants to watch Transformers.
I think the biggest thing, too, is the fact that any time that you say, I know exactly what's going to be said before it's said, and the movie's from 1957, maybe you should stop and think, oh shit, this movie's so good that so many things have copied it, I know it's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, this movie is now meta because it's so
That's what I was
good.
going to say. Oh, you know what's going to be said? Is because it's referenced all the time.
Yeah. Matthew Deemer, I deem your review to be shit.
Yeah, and this thing about people being in one room, like, yeah, they're all in one room, and you don't see that in movies, but it's because this movie did it so well that if any other movie was like, oh, yeah, we're just going to put all the characters in one room for 90 minutes, they'd go, oh, okay, yeah, they did that, like when they did it in 12 Angry Men.
Yeah. Is it also going to be a classic movie? No, don't do it.
And it could be, right? Like if you have an interesting idea, even if like the premise is very simple, that doesn't mean your movie is going to be bad. It just means that your other content, like your dialogue and your story and all that other stuff, has to be good, and it was in this case. Like there are lots of movies that have like very simple premises when you just break it down to its like core, that, you know, if you think about it on that level, like the movie's going to be shit, but nobody thinks about it on that level that actually wants to enjoy it.
This movie also benefits from a just great collective cast. I don't think anyone just was not good in it or was really hokey. Everyone just knocked it out of the park. They were so believable in their performance that I think that really helps elevate it to that extra bit.
I think too the writing in it helps that no two jurors are written to be the same character. They're all really kind of written to be their own individual. And I'm sure the cast, knowing this, they take that and kind of also make it their own. But the fact that, you don't have two jurors that are basically the same people from jump helps a lot in terms of creating that interesting ambiance in the movie.
If the aim too is to also like reflect like I guess all perspectives of society going into one location, to decide the fate of an individual, that's also important in a plot like this. It doesn't need action. It just needs, it needs those perspectives to deliberate and to dialogue back and forth.
So the second review I have found is also 1 out of 10. I've already said that. For my second review, titled Misleading, period, more like 8 upset men.
Oh.
From Marge _ McClammy Hands. Marge
Is this guy really mad about the semantics of a movie title? Is that what we're about to hear?
January 20th,
Clammy
2020.
Hands?
Yes.
Ooh.
From
Oh my god, this is recent.
From Marge McClammy Hands.
Wait. Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
Wow.
this is recent.
What most people don't realize about the film is that there are actually only 11 men, and only 3 of them are visibly angry. Most of them are upset rather than angry. You can't even tell Heath Ledger is on the verge of crying for at least the first 3 hours of the
Heath
film.
Ledger? What? Wait. What is happening?
Did
in
this guy
review?
watch The
I feel
Dark
like this has
Knight?
to be a troll
This
review,
guy watched
right?
The Dark Knight.
He watched. Yeah, I was like,
No, Brokeback Mountain.
I don't know. Maybe hold
Wait,
on.
was that the whole of the review? Is that
Oh
one?
yeah, no, that was it. That
Oh,
was
yeah, he was definitely watching The Dark
Wait.
Knight.
This dude was so stoned,
Wow.
he didn't know what the fuck he was
Heath
reviewing.
Ledger. What fucking characters do you think Heath Ledger is?
right. I was gonna say, man,
My.
if he must be that stoned, maybe that's where the
Okay,
clammy
so
hands comes
here's-
Marge McClam Hands.
maybe. So The Dark Knight is number 4 on the top 250 on IMDb.
Yeah, he clicked the wrong
Maybe
one.
it was I'm thinking maybe it was a Mimi review to bring
Oh.
down 12 Angry Men and put Dark Knight higher.
Oh.
Those Nolan fanboys,
Oh.
they go hard.
Today's episode is brought to you by Audible. How it works is every month members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection. Audible has a free, easy-to-use app that allows you to download titles and listen offline at your convenience. Dylan and Ben, what are your experiences with Audible?
So I used the Audible free trial a couple years ago, and I've gone back to it since. I listened to Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and I really like it when I'm driving on like long road trips.
I used it to listen to one of James Ellroy's LA quartet novels, The Big Nowhere. I would definitely recommend it to anyone on the go, whether it's just driving to work or for long flights. It's great. You can, listen to something on your phone, connect it to Bluetooth. You get to work, log into your work computer, and listen up.
To start your free 30-day trial, go to audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics, all lowercase. Again, that's audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics. After your free trial is up, it'll cost $14.95 per month. However, there are no commitments, and if you can't decide what to listen to at that particular month, that's okay. You can always roll your credits over for up to a year.
Is there any actor, living, dead, past, present, that you could see either in this film or if they were to remake it nowadays? Who would you swap?
I thought of a couple of that kind of jumped off to me. For juror number 7, the man who is constantly complaining about not being able to make it to the baseball game, I pictured Ed O'Neill.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Married with Children.
Yeah.
Married with Children, Modern Family. He was the one coach in Little Giants, which if you're a 90s kid, that'll resonate.
Only 90s kids will understand this.
I don't know why, but I feel like Kevin James could also
my
play him.
God.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know why, but one shot early in the movie, early on, Henry Fonda's character, juror number 8, looked really similar to Willem Dafoe. And I was like, man, he could definitely play juror 8 in a movie.
Is it because you watched The Lighthouse and you were like, oh, black and white? Yes. Looks the same.
It was not. But I am something of a juror myself.
Given Willem Dafoe's age, though, do you think he could play the old guy?
I think the old guy would be like Bruce Dern.
Who?
Bruce Dern, Laura Dern's dad.
Okay.
He was in.
I understand the connection, but what does he do?
Okay. He was in.
Laura Dern was in the first episode of Cocktails and Classics. She played the woman who Jeff Goldblum went "Rawr" at in the helicopter.
Okay. Have
Thank
you seen?
Who is Bruce Dern?
Have you seen The Hateful Eight?
Yes.
He plays General Sandy Smithers in The Hateful Eight.
Mm,
He is
Okay.
in Nebraska. If you've seen Nebraska,
nope.
basically nowadays all he plays is like the senile old man because he's
Classic.
like literally old as dirt.
What if you swapped Henry Fonda with George Clooney?
I could see that. Yeah.
That would
He
be
kinda has
interesting.
that
Maybe I'm just
Bravado.
Right. And like a serious look, like he never, like he wasn't, the character Henry Fonda was like he was playing, like he always has this like serious look, but it's never like intimidating serious, you know what I mean? Like it's like you want to listen to what he has to say type of look.
I could see that. My other one for Henry Fonda's character is Bryan Cranston.
Oh yeah, like Walter White, Bryan Cranston.
Just because, well, yeah, because like you said, he kind of has like that control over the room. Like I'm talking later seasons, Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston. But yeah, I think he'd be able to. I mean, especially like when he's like when Henry Fonda gets into like explaining like how he thinks things went down. I feel like Bryan Cranston would be very like charismatic in being able to do that. And I also think he could probably pit out a dress shirt as well as Henry Fonda did.
Another one I could see was for juror number 3, I believe, who is kind of the last holdout. An actor I could see really nailing that part was Gary Oldman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One person I could see as the advertising juror is definitely John Hamm, because similar to his character in Mad Men is John Hamm plays this very like confident type of advertising
No spoilers.
guy, executive, but underneath that he is still human like anyone else and is still like able to make mistakes and things. And you kind of see in this movie and in Mad Men that both of them kind of turn to be very confident in their decision making and things to being like really unsure about their decision and like even like how they came to decisions and things like that. So I could see that too. The movie has 12 male people in the room, but I do think that it would be interesting to have that perspective in the room. But I'm trying to come up with people who would do that. I actually think the old person could have been played by someone like Judi Dench or someone like that. Like Meryl Streep, yes, like those people. I think that the old guy, like the old wisdom type role, I think would have been great.
Who played Aunt Petunia in the Harry Potter movies? She could have been the bigot. She could have been juror
Just
number
the
3.
hateable character.
No, you could just get like Dolores Umbridge as that person
Oh my
too.
god.
Right.
She's too smirky. I don't want to see her.
What about
I feel bad for that actress. Her career is ruined. I never want to see her ever.
what about Jessica Walters, who she plays the mom in Arrested Development, and she also voices Mallory Archer.
Yes,
in
that's
Archer.
yep, that's her.
Oh,
You're right.
But I
God.
could see her playing the bigoted character.
Yeah,
so well.
I feel like for the lead actress, maybe going back on my Bruce Dern, Laura Dern maybe for Henry Fonda's character. Charlize Theron, like those very powerful, like commanding female characters.
Winona Ryder.
I would I would say Jessica
I
Chastain.
could actually see her doing it, but I would see Winona Ryder doing it in a more frantic way than. I mean, maybe that's just because of her character on Stranger Things, but I could see her doing it in a more like, I don't know, because
I think Winona,
Henry
I think
Fonda's
Winona Ryder
character
would be
is
more
just
like the innocent one.
Yeah, I would say
The innocent
Winona
one.
Ryder would be more of the juror number 2. I think like the one that was kind of like nerdy,
Oh,
wimpy.
yeah, I
like
could see that.
she plays that character.
Because he's
a
kind of
couple times, I
flighty
feel
and
like.
stuff. I
Yeah.
could see that. Yeah.
Wait a minute, guys. I've got it.
Okay.
Out of the park. Jane Fonda.
Why didn't we think of that?
Solid.
How has no one mentioned that? I know I'm a genius.
Before the movie, those of us who had seen it wrote down our ratings based off nostalgia and memory. And now I want to know if your rating has changed or not.
Yeah, going into the movie, I've seen it a handful of times. I always liked the movie, so going in, I gave it an 8 out of 10. And after watching this most recent time, I bumped it up 1 to a 9. The dialogue's fantastic. I mean, the entire movie takes place in conversations, which I think is fantastic. You don't see it in movies anymore. But the main reason that I bumped it up 1 was the camera work in the movie. I noticed this time, like the way they use camera angles to make you feel claustrophobic as the characters get more and more tense. The camera kind of gets lower throughout the movies. I thought that was great. I haven't seen that before, or at least I haven't noticed it before. So yeah, 9 out of 10 I think is fair. It's a great movie. Everybody should see it.
I initially rated this a lot lower. Being forced to watch it in high school and not watching it since, I definitely gave it like a 6 or a 7. I guess 6.5 out of 10. Just because when you're forced to watch something, you don't really take it for what it is. Watching it now, I would definitely give this a 9 out of 10. It is like a masterpiece when it comes to just dialogue and exposition.
Similar to Dylan, I had also watched it in high school, and I think at the time, like when I did watch it, I must have been just zoned out, honestly, and just not really feeling the movie. So I remember it, probably not as highly regarded as I do now after rewatching it, so many years later. So I went in actually with a 5. Um, and so was kind of hoping and expecting that the score would be higher, and absolutely, I brought it all the way up to a 9. What I appreciate about it is just its relatability. Obviously, me being in high school, I'm not 100% aware of a lot of of all like social issues that and perspectives that are brought into um, a jury room. And so understanding that now with a much broader social lens on social issues that are around today, I can definitely appreciate the dialogue and probably a lot of the perspectives that are brought into this into this movie. And so and that's what, again, it makes it timeless, and whatever social issues exist 20, 30, 40 years from now, I feel like this movie can still shed some light on that.
Going into this movie, very similarly, this is a movie I'd watched because I was forced to watch it. So in my memory, it was like a 5. I didn't really appreciate the movie. It was one of those things that was like, oh, great. We don't have to do classwork because we're going to watch this movie instead. I think when you watch it because you want to watch it, and it seems like a movie you want to go back and enjoy, I gave this movie a 10 after watching it. I think it really holds up today, and I think it's timeless. The fact that you could watch this at any era between the time it came out and now, and it still be relevant, and it still mean something, and it still be able to teach you something, is what really makes it a classic movie. I think with a few tweaks, and not even, it necessarily doesn't need them, but I think it could be as socially relevant, if not more so today than it was in 1957. I think it teaches an important lesson, all while being shot in one room. The dialogue's phenomenal. The acting is wonderful. I mean, overall, I think the movie itself was simplistic enough to be shot in one room and yet still be dynamic enough to have you walk out of it feeling like you've gotten a lot out of the movie. So after rewatching, I gave it a 10. This is a fantastic movie, and it deserves its spot in cinema history.
That simplicity might also add to the timeless piece of it, is that there's no fancy frills, there's no CGI, there's none of that. It's discussion, it's human nature, and as Cameron said earlier, the issues that are prevalent in the film then are still prevalent today. Like every piece of this film can be applied to 2020, I feel like.
Watching it, even though it's in black and white, it doesn't feel dated. There's no effects that you look at and go, dear God, those are cheesy. Those didn't hold up. It's 1957. I mean, maybe you could point at the fact that the fan is different then than it would be now. And the paper towel machine. But realistically, you look at that and it's exactly what you'd expect from a small room in a courthouse. You know, there's nothing that you're like, oh man, look at that CGI fire. That holds up for being 20 years old. I mean, this movie's 63 years old. Math's hard after a couple time counts. But for being 63 years old, I think it holds up as a movie made in 1980 or 1990. It doesn't rely on effects to be great.
My rating for this movie, before I say my rating, I actually want, it's a shame that all of you guys thought so poorly of this movie just because you were forced to watch it. And that's not like saying anything about you guys, obviously, but like, I feel the same way. Like, To Kill a Mockingbird, I've seen the movie, but I don't really remember it that much. And honestly, I'd probably rate it like 5 or 6, and I'm sure it's a good movie. But again, like, forcing it to be watched in school shouldn't make something appear to be a bad movie. I mean, there's a reason that they, want you to watch the movie, and they try and guide you on your discussion of it. It's just a shame just because of the format or whatever that there isn't more like free form thinking or discussion, or, brains aren't as developed as much to be able to, get those and understand what the theme of the movie is trying to tell you and be able to connect that into life in like a meaningful way. For my rating, I'm going to agree with you guys and give it a 9 to 9.5. When we watched the movie last week, The Shining, I thought that was going to be my favorite movie for a while, but I think this one actually might take the cake. It's a short movie, but it's got a lot of themes that are relevant today. The conversation, the exposition, the dialogue still hold up today. It doesn't feel dated at all. There's many things where I was kind of excited to see where the conversation was going to go next. I was excited to see, who was going to flip to the other side next. It was a great movie, and similar to The Shining, I can't wait to watch it again. So I'm going to go 9.5.
As of recording, it is available on Amazon Prime, and you could also look it up on justwatch.com. It gives you all your streaming options. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to share us with your friends. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod, or if you're into Twitter, reach us at Cocktails Class. Post, send, and tag us in your drink photos or your movie recommendations, and use the hashtag Cocktails and Classics. On Instagram, we got mentioned by Nicole Erdahl 4. She said, "Hey, at Cocktails and Classics Pod, we're prepped for the next episode." And she showed us all her cocktail ingredients for the Tom Collins. And On our photo of Tom Collins, Mona Bay said, "My husband and I got a head start on making the drink. It's so refreshing." Lemon emoji, lemon emoji. So we are listening. Send us your drink photos, send us your movie recommendations, and until next time, watch responsibly.